frame on the rotisserie. It's not 100% perfect yet, but I gotta redo this back piece so I can move it back on the ends of those rails once I get the crossbar back there, because obviously right now you run it down and the rear tube runs into the rotisserie itself. But I got a lot of the welding finished on the bottom for the shock mounts. Still gotta make my plates to box all this stuff in. Gotta get these guys cut out. And gotta notch the floor out here for the driver's side. I haven't decided if I'm gonna do it on the passenger side yet. I might do it just a little bit, but maybe not to the extent I do it on the driver's side, because I'm doing it on the driver's side for my footroom and pedals and stuff, so the passenger's really just not as big of a deal. I also forgot to show you what I got. It's a 1JZGTE head flange and J-pipe delete flanges. I can't tell you who I got these from because they don't offer them, but since I'm so special, they made an exception for me and sent them to me. But this stuff's going to be down the road a ways. I'm not going to, in typical fashion, do what I do and then start tearing that engine apart and building shit for it and doing all this and then get even further behind with the project. So this is down the road. Once the truck is actually running and driving, then I will screw around with making a manifold and doing the J-pipe delete and all that shit. So probably a little while. Well, that back piece I needed to make, I finally ended up getting around to it. I just welded some 2x2 to this lower piece because this is originally set up for the MG. It's up in the garage, so those just got temporarily welded on there. And then this piece will stay with the frame, obviously, because it's welded on both sides of this. But then the front is just clamped with the four F clamps. So with a 2x4 and a 2x3, that's more than enough that it needs up front. I just wish I could have made something that clamped in the rear, but not so lucky. It hits right here, which I gotta move this bar from here out that way so it clears. I gotta do the same thing on the other one back there. But, I mean, works pretty well for now. All the welding is easily accessible. Yeah, so the only thing left is to change those braces so it can do a full 360, but for now it does. When it's horizontal, it sits pretty well. I got set bolts on the front and back, so if I do mess around with it like this or flip it completely upside down, I can lock it in and it won't go anywhere. But yeah, it's kind of nice. And on your fancier rotisseries, they'll have this bar here in the front will be adjustable off this pivot point up and down. And basically what you do is you get whatever you're doing, if you're using a car body or you're using a chassis, you level it out, set your front point, and then set your back point when it's level, which is why I had to make the big shootouts up there, because the frame jumps up. But ultimately it's a center line right through the frame, and that's what lets it just free spin left or right. This one's for Ace. I don't know, maybe you hate pale ales too. I didn't know you didn't like IPAs, but this one's pretty good. It says it's got a little bit of heat. It does, but after the first one, the heat kind of goes away. You don't get it anymore. But it's good. Well, yesterday I wandered down to the shop, and once I got down here, I forgot that I had left the Sawzall upstairs. And I figured, oh, I'll just take the angle grinder and make a few small cuts and get this thing apart. Well, as you can see, I didn't get anything cut all the way off. Both those sides are still on, where if I had the Sawzall, I would have just went right down, probably right down right in here, took this thing off, and now I'm going to use the angle grinder to make these cuts on the side for this guy. I still got to cut into there a little bit, but that's going to get plated down this way, and then I'm not going to do the same thing on the other side. I'm probably just going to transition it into the rail, just not as far and long as this one is. Alright, so the rail's cut down. I gotta make a couple filler plates for like these big gaps. There's a little one over here. Knock down all this crap on the outside. This is probably the last time I'm ever gonna do this to a frame. It would have saved me so much time and effort to just build a frame based around these two subframes for the front and rear, but I'm already in it, screw it. We'll get this one finished and that'll be it. Still got to clean this off. And then, like I said, this part's probably going to get trimmed. Maybe right to about here, and just come down to meet that, and up to here, that's it. Well, I went ahead and finally got this frame rail sectioned off here. It's 3 pieces, and it was a pain in the ass, only because it's just a matter of cutting and fitting and cutting and fitting and cutting and fitting to get this thing right. So that's why I really didn't film any of it, because it's kind of boring. So now that this one's good, we'll be on to that one over there. I'll probably work on that one next week, because what I'm going to do now is set up the front suspension, start taking some measurements for that, and probably set this frame back down on the ground, level her out, and start seeing what I need to do to get the mounts done for the front to get the subframe located. Then what needs to happen is this front bar right here. I put it on solid. Reason being is you put it on solid like that, welded across the front, you know that's where it's set up. So when I cut out the center section to put like kind of the hoop in that goes over the transmission, then you know that you can clamp a piece of steel to the bottom and a piece of steel to the front of the back side, and you know it'll be lined back up perfect when you go ahead to weld that hoop on, and it'll basically make sure everything stays in line. To where if you just did it now and then cut it apart, and you know, if it sprung off a little bit or something moved, yeah, or versus making it in 2 pieces or something like that. So that's next.
Dans notre quotidien, ces châtaignes.